The pyramids were built during Egypt's fourth dynasty, about 4,500 years ago. They're one of the 7 wonders of the world, monuments whose mysteries have provoked centuries of debate. Egyptologists insist that they were tombs, the same as other pyramids along the Nile Valley. But now a new breed of investigators is asking questions and challenging that idea. Sleuths like Robert Bauval, a construction engineer, and writer Graham Hancock.
Textbooks say that these pyramids were royal tombs like all the others, but no mummies were found inside Giza, no inscriptions, nothing. Besides, some of these 4th dynasty pharaohs built 2 pyramids. Why? Did they intend to be buried in both places at once? And why did none of them leave inscriptions? Why did none of them make clear to posterity that he was the owner?
Ask yourself this. If you'd just built the biggest tomb in human history after decades of cost and effort, would you leave the world guessing about your identity? Isn't it likely that there's something much more to all this than just tombs and tombs only? Could this be part of some very different scheme?
The date Egyptologists fix as the beginning of Egyptian civilization is 3000 BC, about 500 years before the pyramids were built. Before that, they claimed the land was populated by Stone Age wanderers. Bauval is skeptical.
According to the textbooks, Egypt only just emerged from the Stone Age. And suddenly, just like that, we're able to produce these enormous and perfect structures. And all this for what? To cover the body of a dead king. This tomb-only theory doesn't make sense. And despite 100 years of scientific investigation, many vital questions remain unanswered.
The pyramids on the Giza Plateau are unlike any ever built in Egypt before or since. Their predecessors from the 3rd dynasty are mountains of crumbling brick. Their 5th century successors are piles of rubble. Hancock explains.
It's as though in the 3rd dynasty they built the Model T Ford. In the 4th dynasty, they built the Porsche. Then in the 5th dynasty, for some bizarre reason, they reverted to the penny-farthing bicycle of pyramids. It really doesn't make any kind of sense.
The pyramids don't excite everybody's curiosity. Egyptologists aren't much interested in them and believe that speculation, especially about the Great Pyramid, has gone too far.
Pyramids, in general, are not very popular with Egyptologists because I think they're too plentiful. There are about 100 of them. And also, I think they've acquired something of a bad name because they've attracted so many cranks.
The Great Pyramid has this power over people. In my view, it has the power to destroy common sense.
But if the pyramids were simply tombs, then why were the Egyptians so obsessed with the pyramids' dimensions and with their orientation on the Earth? They lie almost exactly along the 30th parallel. The relationship of the Great Pyramid's circumference to its height is the same as that of the Earth's circumference to its radius from the pole. Egyptologists don't dispute this, they just deny that it was done on purpose.
Is this a simple coincidence? Or is it possible that these people knew the exact shape and dimensions of the Earth? Miraculously, too, these gigantic structures are impeccably aligned to the cardinal directions. Perfectly east-west and perfectly north-south. The precision of these alignments is uncanny and hasn't been achieved in any modern structure. How is it possible that such precision could have been achieved almost 5,000 years ago? 500 years ago, our own civilization wasn't even sure that the Earth is a sphere. And it wasn't until 300 years ago that we knew for certain the exact dimensions of the Earth. But these people knew, because the Great Pyramid turns out to be a mathematical model of the Northern Hemisphere on a scale of 1 to 43,200.
The Great Pyramid also incorporates the value of pi in its construction, a transcendental number thought to have been discovered by the Greeks. And even the slope of the pyramid's walls is odd and complicated.
It's clear that what we have here is an advanced system of mathematics and technology at a time when this isn't supposed to have existed. And to achieve these results, the ancient builders had to use a slope of 52 degrees. Any other slope just wouldn't work. Can all these things be coincidence?
The accuracy of these monuments is almost obsessive. Take the sides of the Great Pyramid. They're each 755 feet long, yet the average variation in the side length is barely 5 inches. We're talking 0.01 of a single percent. Such incredible precision would stretch to breaking point the capacities of modern construction crews. So it's hard to imagine how it was done by primitives only just emerging from the Stone Age.
There's still more worth pondering, like the size of the building blocks.
Some of these blocks, high up in the body of the Great Pyramid, each weigh as much as 100 family-sized cars. Egyptologists remain strangely unpuzzled by this, but frankly, we're very puzzled indeed.
I'm an engineer, and I can tell you that to raise blocks of this size to such heights requires a special crane. Now, for a people who did not have that sort of machines, not even the simplest pulley or the wheel, and using simple copper tools, how could they do this?
Deep within the pyramid, inside a room called the King's Chamber, there is a granite chest so skillfully made it would challenge even modern-day machines. Chris Dunn is a drilling expert.
This is an incredible piece of work and a mystery. How did they do it? The typical way of doing it primitively would be with a bow saw, a bow drill, and they would advance the tool into the piece using sand or a diamond. And to me, that would just take too long, too many years to do this.
Well, let me ask you this then. How do you think they did it?
I think that they had to have used some power tool. Today, if we were to drill this, we would advance the drill into the granite at a rate of 2/10,000ths of an inch per revolution of the drill.
Do you think their drills could possibly have been turning as fast as that?
No, they were advancing a lot faster than that.
Faster?
Faster. The drills were advancing into the granite at a rate of 100,000ths of a revolution.
The investigators admit the idea is controversial, but the fact is, the Egyptians were able to cut granite and even diorite, the hardest stone in nature, and drill out the inside of diorite vases where modern-day tools couldn't even reach.
How did they do this? Look at the tightness of the lid. It's all even, huh?
It's like opticians' work.
In the King's Chamber, there's another mystery the investigators don't think has been adequately solved.
This is the real mystery.
Cutting through the wall are a number of precision-made shafts. Egyptologists claim they're ventilation shafts, air conditioning for the dead monarch.
But there's no way these could have been ventilation shafts. The detail of design is far too complicated. They rise on the incline all the way out of the pyramid. They must have had a much higher purpose.
But what kind of purpose? Bauval and Hancock began to believe the 5,000-year-old monuments were built to send a message to future generations. The investigators wanted to decipher that message and turned to astronomy for clues.
Scholars say that the ancient Egyptians did not have a high knowledge of astronomy. But here is evidence of their fascination and sophisticated knowledge of the sky. Look at the zodiac constellations. Leo, Taurus, Pisces. and here the constellation of Orion and the star Sirius.
Bauval was convinced the shaft from the king's chamber was targeted at the constellation of Orion. He set out to prove it on the computer.
Obviously, they didn't go to all this trouble just for fun. To the ancient Egyptian, Orion was Osiris, the high god of resurrection. Now, this is a reconstruction of the sky in 2500 BC. And let's see what happens to Orion's belt as it crosses the north-south line.
A perfect alignment to Orion and the god Osiris.
Now, to the left of Orion, and here is the star Sirius. To the ancient Egyptians, it was the star of Isis, the consort of Osiris. And I was amazed to discover this.
Just as the king's chamber is sited at Osiris, the shaft from the queen's chamber leads straight to his consort, the goddess Isis. Osiris and Isis were central to the ancient Egyptians' religion. The coming of these gods, thousands of years before the beginning of history, heralded the birth of Egypt. This was what the Egyptians called the beginning of time, when the god shaped the skies for eternity, with Osiris, the god of resurrection. Resurrection was also the goal of Egypt's pharaohs.
Now, when a pharaoh died, his body was mummified and prepared like Osiris, and his soul was ready to ascend to the sky. His earthly mission fulfilled, and the dead king would depart to the sky. In effect, what we have here is a reenactment of the resurrection myth of Osiris told in stellar terms.
Bauval believes the purpose of the pyramid shafts was to send the pharaoh's soul to its place next to Osiris, and he's found compelling support.
I'm taking you inside the Pyramid of Unas, one of the kings who immediately followed the 4th dynasty. And here are the oldest religious writings in history. These are the pyramid texts, and they hold the key to the mystery of the pyramids. The meaning of these texts were nearly forgotten, because Egyptologists saw in them mainly a sun religion. But this isn't a religion of the day and the living. This is a religion of the night and of the dead. These texts repeatedly tell us that the king becomes a star in the kingdom of Osiris in the constellation of Orion. One of these texts says, "O king, you are a companion of Orion." And another text says, "May you traverse the winding waterway, the Milky Way, and may you go to the place where Orion is." Everything here attests to a grand unified plan, a master plan. And yet there's something very perplexing about this plan. We have 3 pyramids, 2 of which are of almost identical size and are set along a diagonal line. And yet here's the curious thing. The 3rd pyramid is much smaller and is offset to the left of this diagonal line. Why? What were the pyramid builders trying to do?
Bauval wondered if the alignment of the pyramids on the ground might be clues pointing to a larger purpose.
The problem had been nagging me for years, and on a night like this, sitting in the desert with a friend of mine, he was telling me how the star Sirius would rise, and then he pointed in the sky and showed me the belt of Orion right above. And he said, you notice how the three stars run in a row, but at the top star, the smallest star, is slightly offset to the left. And suddenly I had it.
Bauval had realized the pyramids might be a terrestrial map of Orion's belt, but not as it would have looked in the skies in 2450 BC when the pyramids were built. Interestingly, the position of the stars in the sky doesn't stay the same century after century. When viewed from Earth, the constellations appear to move, a phenomenon called precession, caused by the wobbling of the Earth on its axis. The movement progresses at a snail's pace, about 1 degree over a human lifetime.
Egyptologists and students of hieroglyphics ignore precession, but without it, certain problems simply cannot be solved, because it is precession that is the key that will unlock the mysteries of the pyramids.
Precession appears as a change in altitude of the stars. From the moment Orion rises from its starting position 11 degrees above the horizon until the time it returns, takes 26,000 years. The pyramid's alignment with Orion's belt was close, but not exact. The Nile corresponded to the Milky Way and the pyramids to Orion, but neither was perfectly matched with their position in 2500 BC. Bauval looked to other time periods.
Now let's look at the three stars in Orion's belt in relation to the Milky Way. Now, in order to get a perfect match with the pyramids on the ground, the sky needs to be rotated slightly anti-clockwise. This means going back in time, 3000 BC, 4000 BC, 5000 BC.
The computer follows Orion back over the millennia of its precessional cycle.
10. And in 10,500 BC, that's when we get the perfect match.
It's absolutely amazing.
Well, the whole arrangement freezes the time of 10,500 BC.
The pyramid builders made their terrestrial map to reflect Orion as it looked, and only as it looked, in 10,500 BC.